Printing for Gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Perram, and I'm joined by
Christen Sowers, also known as Seventh Mastery.
Oh, Krista, this has been a lifetime this last week, it seems like for me. How about you?
I have a feeling I wasn't quite as busy as you. I did do more prop printing, and now I have to say it. My Neptune has failed me. There's been issues.
No.
It's not terminal. It's not terminal, and I think this is just learning curve stuff, right? We're going to be good. It's going to be fine. And I'm actually going to challenge myself to go back to the filaments in question and try again. But I'm hoping I didn't damage it, though.
I'm thinking for you, and maybe even I'm thinking even for me that maybe it's worth it to just go all the way to the bamboo. Like the thing that's fixed in the box and there's no setting things up and it just go.
I mean,
and printer go boom.
I love that for me, but a little bit. Jeez. I mean,
well, no.
It's because
I also had a bunch of crap with me in FDM printing in my background. It's not
right.
It's not been a successful, lovely dance through the tulips. And honestly, FDM printing, I love you all that love your FDM printing. Wonderful, glorious stuff is made in FDM, and it's been like the longest standing 3D printing tech and responsible for so much of this hobby. But oh boy, is it hard sometimes, especially when you're dealing with cheaper printers.
It is. I mean, and the Neptune's not super cheap, but it's pretty cheap, affordable. And I got it on sale, so I want to say overall it wasn't really that bad. Change the nozzle, yeah. See, that's the thing. That's what worries me is that the nozzles borked. I hope not, but I'm a little nervous about that because I did change materials so often, and then one of them had a very wide temperature variance.
Well, the good news is, even if it is the nozzles are cheap and easy to change. So it's not a difficult operation.
We'll see. I'm hoping it's still going to work, but there's a good chance. And now that Troy said that, I'm of course having a little bit of palpitation.
Oh no.
I really hate tearing open my printer. Even just the hot head bugs me. I think you buy something, you want it to work for more than a couple months, and though technically I've owned it for longer than that, I've only been printing with it for 4 weeks now.
Right. I'm wanting to change my nozzle just because I'm starting to believe in if Uncle Jesse's a great 3D printing channel. If you haven't checked this channel out and you're into 3D printing, you absolutely have to. And he is a strong advocate that the printers that are shipping right now, they ship with 0.4 millimeter nozzles, which is just probably not a great size for either way, because it's too big to get ultra detail. Because if you want to print minis and stuff and you want to go for that, instead I do not recommend that. I recommend minis go resin. But if you want to do that, if you want to do the cool flexing of I made this thing dance and make cool awesome minis that look as good as resin, you want to go with a 0.2 millimeter nozzle, so you go smaller. And if you want to print things like cool freaking houses and terrain, it's almost always universally better to go up to 0.6, because it's not, the detail isn't the outside, because it can take that 6 millimeter nozzle and move it tiny amounts. It's just the thinnest wall it can make. And and houses are big things.
Yeah.
And terrain, even
some of the toys and stuff you would make would actually benefit from that thickness. So
So it prints dramatically faster. Going up to 0.6 is a twice increase in print speed. So between that and fast printers, I kind of want to take my Neptune 4 and slap a 0.6 on it, and then just flood my house with dungeon tiles.
The Kraken ones that you like?
I do love those Kraken tiles. I
mean, they're pretty. They are pretty. I kind of want to do some more, but I'm kind of I have so much stuff. I don't know if I need a whole other set of dungeon tiles, but especially when I can make foam cut ones really fast now. I've got really good at that. But
and I'm kind of just just deep diving into my inner DM nerd lately and wanting to like I don't get this itch super often, but
Mhm.
especially because like my years as a Pathfinder ambassador, like I was like gung ho, yay Galarian, and there's a lot to Galarian to love.
I love
Um,
the system. Galarian, not so much, but that's just me. Go on.
oh, yeah. I am very much a Galarian fanboy and Forgotten Realms fanboy before that.
Yeah.
And
So,
you have convinced me to love Planescape because thanks to you, I've looked into
yay!
Planescape and I've been like, there's so
Victory!
much cool stuff in here.
The
There's
multiverse
so
has
much cool
claimed
stuff. I mean, most of
another.
the stuff I like is Sigil, but there's so much cool stuff in here.
Well, the nice thing about Planescape and embracing the multiverse as a whole
Hmm.
is you get everything. All the homebrew worlds, all the published
Hmm.
worlds, every edition, every change of
Hmm.
narrative. Like, I might have a game that's happening in a campaign setting that's existent, but they don't know it, A, and B, they don't know they're playing in the second edition canon,
Hmm.
not the fifth edition canon. So that's a thing. Anyway.
So I went and did what I usually do when I have this itch,
Mhm.
and I went to my local Barnes and Noble
Mm.
and I bought me a nice, pretty looking leather journal.
Oh,
And then I started filling it with all my world ideas for my, because
nice.
I love making worlds. And I have no idea what I'll do with this thing. But I kind of want to run a campaign in it and I'm having
Yeah.
fun with it.
So you're just world
And
building
it's
right now
fun
and just
stuff.
journaling about the world building?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I always do that. I always do that. Like I'll spend like a few months building the world up, and then I'll
Mhm.
like recruit a crew. And it's cause,
Mhm.
and I am privileged and lucky enough that when I want to play, it's not difficult for me to put a group together. And I bet it's not difficult for you to put 7 groups together. Uh,
I may have been left alone for a few hours the other day and then talk to someone about something for 5 minutes and be making another campaign setting right now.
oh my god.
So that will be
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
5th campaign setting this year.
Hmm.
Well, like 12-month year.
Hmm.
I have a problem. It's okay
Oh,
though.
it's wonderful. I love it. Yeah, I love your campaign settings are always so super imaginative and cool, and I just like am blown away that you even think about some of those cool interactions.
This is going to be post Magitech Apocalypse.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Mhm.
I was going into a we're both doing a post-apocalypse thing, but mine's very different.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm doing post Fey Court genocide apocalypse.
Oh, ooh, that's interesting. So is
Hmm.
this the one you were talking about for that other project you were talking about?
Yeah, yeah. I'm blowing it up into
Oh,
a world to play around in. Eventually,
yay!
like I've thought about like different things to do it, and like part of me was even like grabbing visual novel maker and it's like I'll just make a visual novel with it. Uh
Sure.
but either way, I'm playing around in that sandbox and it's fun. And but that also means that I so love that I'm involved in the 3D printing as a hobby because when I go because this is me going kind of into wild directions with the settings and it's like oh it's like very not steampunk but like Victorian fey punk kind of things going on and I need all these
Mhm.
very wild and interesting customized stuff for the setting and the terrain and the minis and good lord if I was buying if store bought ain't fine this time
Store-bought's always fine. Just kidding.
you
It's
you
not.
can't go to your local gaming store and go I need a set of halfling pickpockets that all have fairy wings and newsy caps.
I mean, that's pretty
That's
specific, but you could totally do that with the 3D printing.
you can absolutely do that because,
Yeah,
like, even
yeah,
if I can't find that many, and there kind of are odds are I'll find that many.
yeah.
Um, or odds are, unfortunately, from this podcast, we've learned me putting this idea into the world. One of y'all crazy people will make that many.
Yeah.
Um, but
I'm
if
also gonna
not,
s
I
yeah.
can digitally kit bash a dozen of them in like an evening, and then I'll just have a
Y
whole slew.
You could totally do that, and I will bet you money for sure that it's on
Mhm.
Eldritch Foundry, you could easily do that. And I'm
Uh-huh.
probably pretty sure that Hero Forge could take care of that too. But
Yeah, Hero Forge gave me the premium license,
mm,
and it's still active, so I should probably go look and see
you should go
if
look at
I
it, just even if you're just trying to
yeah.
model some stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And Eldritch Foundry is really nice. It's so nice.
Yeah, I love them.
Mm.
I was just to say, I'm gonna do what
Mhm.
if Final Fantasy 10/16 times
Okay. Uh-huh.
times Pokemon, maybe times
Okay.
times like weird post tech apocalypse setting. I think it'll be interesting. But
Mhm.
I really like the idea that the Pokemon thing would actually be the remnants of biotech encoded critters that, like, if you're a handler or trainer, that you actually have the gene trait that they bond to. And I think that'd be really
Mm.
neat. So that's probably gonna
This
happen.
is
Power World. Yes, I've
this
been
is
playing Power World, David. Just saying, it's
everybody
fine.
on this planet has been playing Power World. If you've looked at those Steam numbers, it's been insane.
Yeah, I might
Oh.
be 42nd level and nearly at max
Oh my
already.
good lord.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't complain. You're playing on my server, so
it's true. It's true.
oh, it's fun. And again, that weird freaking setting, you wouldn't be able to do it with, like, you could do it
Hmm.
with $1,000 billion in a metric ton of green stuff.
Yeah.
But with thankfully with 3D printing is fun. And I've also been kind of blessed in a different way.
Hmm.
Because I've been uh as y'all know, I work for OPR,
Hmm.
one of the leaders of OPR. And
They're kind of a
we
big deal. Just saying.
no, that's not what I was saying, Kristen.
I'm saying it. I'm saying it. Don't let
Ah.
him be modest, people. He's kind of a big deal. Anyway, go on.
Either way, we've been working on a project, and it's been very public.
Hmm.
I got a giant box.
You got a
A
giant
giant
box?
box came in the mail
Oh, I
because
like
to
giant
set up for
boxes.
this project,
Yes.
and that giant box is filled with hundreds of professionally painted 3D printed minis. And
Ooh.
so, like, they're they're just they're just sitting there on my game table, and I get to do the cool thing where I'm 3 years old again, and I'm just setting up the T-Rex and the giant robot scorpion, and then like, and you all fight, and then I take pictures of it, and he's like, you all fight, and then the big frog wizard comes down, and
Yeah, yeah. I'm here for it. Let's go. Let's go.
oh, it's been fun. Oh man, yeah. And so, like, for those of you, I don't usually front the day job stuff here, but we just launched a big campaign, and it's one of the reasons I've been so stressed out lately. Was gearing up for this gigantic crowdfunding campaign over on Frontiers, Secrets
It
of
looks
Tishel.
looks
That's the
very
correct
cool.
pronunciation.
Looks very
Um,
cool, and I think it's gonna blow up real big. So that's just me as
mhm,
a Patreon backer of your company who is super
mhm,
excited.
yeah, and we were talking about that a little bit because the amount of work that goes into this, and you like, I didn't even need to tell you like my mental state coming into this, and this is not my first rodeo with crowdfunding.
If you're not
um
seeing this right now, I'm nodding my head very vigorously to the point where I
right,
might hurt myself.
and crowdfunding is such a humongous part of our industry. We've talked
It
about this before
is.
in the previous episodes. There's
Mhm,
so many very cool Kickstarters, and now there's like Game Founds, and like there's Frontiers on my mini
mhm,
factory, which is
mhm.
where our campaign is
And
going on right now.
BackerKit themselves now is also launching
Mhm.
stuff. You can still use it to back your other platforms, but BackerKit also has its own
Right.
launch. So,
Yeah.
yep.
And so it's so ubiquitous, but I don't think most people know what goes on in behind the scenes. So you had the idea that, like, because we both have done so many of these,
Mhm,
to
mhm.
talk about like what goes behind, like, setting up for one of these Kickstarters, or what's it like to run one of these things, and what's it like to be on the other side of the fence of one of these things, and to see them to success or failure, and like what is involved. And like a lot of our listeners we know are indeed creators, or have
Mhm.
ambitions of being creators of various different, whether you're 3D printing, and I know some of you all are interested in other aspects of the gaming life. Um, So like maybe this information be some use of value to y'all.
Mhm.
I will
Let's get
first
into it.
say, let's get into it. I'll first say it's a ton of work. Like it is an
Mhm.
insane amount of work
Boy,
to
is
get
it.
a campaign going. And I understand like a lot of y'all doing it super well. There's a lot of you all that have put out some amazing campaign. Like how many times have we just been like, new Ian Lovecraft campaign just dropped, get on it.
Mhm.
And records of success is valuable in this life because like I've talked about this before. Success is not always guaranteed. Thankfully in 3D printing space, the culture that's grown up around it is all these digital models and you get them super fast and most of them
Right.
are done before you even see the campaign.
Right, right,
um,
right.
which is
Yep.
the approach we took over at OPR, where the frontier is literally everything is ready now.
Yeah.
You pledge, you
Yeah.
just get it. And
Yeah.
like I love it when it's like the 30 days, like the Ian Lovecraft one. At the end of 30 days, give me my houses. I'm going to start printing
Yeah.
my houses.
Yeah, I mean,
um
it's cool because there's a lot of buyer confidence also. It's not
mhm,
like because a lot of times, one of the things that if you've ever done Kickstarter or
mhm.
back to Kickstarter, there's a big disclaimer thing that says this is not a store. You are not
Right,
buying stuff. You are
right.
hoping at stuff, and if you get it, you
Mhm,
get it, and if you don't, you don't. I mean, there's now a little bit more legal recourse than that because the situation's evolved. I'm not going to get into the specifics. If you want to, I'm sure there's somebody far more educated about how that
mhm,
restitution process might work. But the truth of the matter is these are crowdfunding and they're hopes and dreams and stars and wishes. We
mhm,
really want them to happen, but oftentimes you don't know. You don't know. And virality is so strange and weird that
mhm.
it can gift a creative who is manic and by themselves in a loft apartment to have a lightning strike $1 million campaign, and then
Mhm.
you can have a fantastic team, some great marketing, the whole thing, and it's just the wrong time, or like something unexpected like the pandy or some other thing happens, and it's just
Or the
not going to
biggest
work.
D&D creator in the world drops their campaign the week before you were supposed to drop yours.
There's something like that, yeah, that might happen to somebody. I mean, for instance, or
Yeah.
you're ideating. This is something that I've struggled with. This is something I want people to
Mhm,
hear because this does not
mhm,
mean it's bad. Okay, I want
mhm.
everybody to hear this. This doesn't mean it's bad, but sometimes crowdfunding allows you to try something unknown. You
Right.
can step in and ideate something we've never seen before. I jokingly reference the potato salad guy all the time. I don't know if you're
Mhm.
familiar with this
Right.
story from Kickstarter, and I don't think it might have been TikTok. It might have been Vine. I don't know. Basically, the guy
It was
said, "I
before
want to
TikTok.
make."
It was years
Yeah,
before
so,
TikTok
so it was Vine.
existed.
Anyway, he wanted to make a bowl of potato salad. He wanted to make the best potato salad in the world. And he got thousands of dollars, like thousands of thousands, and he ended up starting, I
Mhm,
think, like a YouTube channel and a whole bunch of stuff. And
mhm,
he did fulfill his commitment. He made a fantastic bowl of potato salad, blah, 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 blah,
mhm,
blah. But he also used it to propel a whole new platform, right? And that's awesome and that's amazing. But at the wrong
mhm,
time, the wrong moment, and the wrong reception, you're going to run into some problems. And this happens also
mhm,
when you have a team where you don't know everything about everyone. You had a specific
mhm.
term for it once, and I'm trying to remember what it was. But basically, sometimes you don't know it, and your team members have skeletons in a closet or whatever, and then suddenly you're halfway into
Milkshake
your
ducking.
is it milkshake ducking. Is that what you said?
Yes. Milkshake
Hmm.
duck.
I'm not sure that reference even. Are you able to explain that on there?
This is
No.
a few years old, and it
Okay.
happened around the 2016 election, I think.
Mm.
Um, when a certain some like this is not I'm not getting into politics, but like the origin of the meme is
Mhm.
during one of the debates, a certain somebody in a red sweater came up and asked a bunch of questions, and everybody
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, this guy's like super cool, and he's like super moderate," and everybody kind of fell in love with this slightly awkward nice guy trying to get
Right. Right.
everybody
Right.
get along. And then it
Yep.
came out later, oh, um and this is where I don't like this part of the story,
Yep.
but
Yep. Yep.
like they discovered that they were involved in various adult forms of entertainment between consenting peoples.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and then it was so that then propelled a comedy sketch that is The world falls in love with Milkshake Duck, a duck that drinks milkshake. We regret to inform you that Milkshake Duck is racist.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Yeah. So this sort of thing can happen. And I can think of a very well-known gaming personality that we're not going to name who was involved with a very successful campaign. And during that campaign, stuff came out about them and their prior history with people in the industry. And suddenly a whole campaign that had already funded, had gone big, stretch goals were offered, money was spent. And then suddenly this completely unknown thing to most of the people suddenly comes back and like the whole thing defunds and they have to cancel the project. And they literally, your hopes and dreams and stars and wishes turn into thousands of dollars of debt. And that's rough. Having personally experienced it a couple of different ways, even a successful campaign. I want to say,
that is such a dangerous thing. People don't understand. You can succeed yourself into bankruptcy if you didn't plan your campaign to scale the way it needs to.
Yep.
It just multiplies your debt the more people that pledge.
Here is a cautionary tale from my own life. Okay. I had a buddy who had worked at a company that had a shipping assurance program. And every year they would pick a worthy person to provide the shipping services to that person for free so that they could test their shipping solutions. And I had an agreement with this person to have them handle my shipping. And that meant that my budget for shipping while in the project could become freed up. And so these things were all great, whatever. Friend. So what didn't we do that we should always do?
Contracts.
Not have a contract. Whoops. That people always. I don't care if you are blood related to this person or married or whatever it is. Do the contract. If you have something that involves a dollar sign, maybe even a penny sign or cent sign, get a contract. Anyway, so situation is great thing happens. Friend gets promoted out of the department that oversees shipping assurance. All of their prior verbal contracts are negated, and suddenly I'm back on the hook for all the international shipping of my project. Ouch. We won't throw specific numbers out, but it moved the profitability window of my project from like a couple months after fulfillment to years after fulfillment. So that was rough.
And even in others, I've heard of situations where, let's say you're getting your product produced overseas. It is not uncommon to hear about, well, you agreed on a number, but that company doesn't exist anymore, quote unquote. Now, new company you've never heard of is demanding twice that number, or you never get your books you already paid for.
Right. So there's that. There's also shipping stuff gets lost. And your entire run of beautiful, glorious hardcovers might be one of dozens and dozens and dozens of shipping containers. And it's only one or two boxes or one or two pallets in that thing. Unless you're like really a big company, right? I had a single pallet for my Kickstarter, and that was still hundreds and hundreds of people who backed it, right? And funny follow-up story to this too. But we did that, and I had a friend who did the same thing, almost the exact same volume I did, almost the exact same print run I did. Shipping container got lost. Company, it took him like 2 to 3 years to get that company to redo the print run. And
wow.
In the gaming industry, I'll tell you folks, if you are small and you're not like, WotC or maybe Paizo, you have a 2 to 3 year delay in your release schedule and you have money out in the air, it's a bad scene. That person no longer produces products anymore. So not their fault. And this happened to a lot of people during the pandy also. So like unforeseen stuff can really mess you up. Another one of mine, this is more comical. My company runs off of freelancers, right? and me.
Mm-hmm.
And I do a lot of work. I do graphic design, I do editing, I do layout, I do development, I do my own draft work for parts of the projects.
Can
And
we stop or pause on this note to
yes.
point out that a lot of times these really cool indie projects are only possible because you put on so many hats yourself and you're not hiring professionals for each of those slots. You had to become the professional in each of those slots.
And what I did, actually, my project was just successful enough that I did do professionals for all those slots, so that I had a second check for everything I could. I got a sensitivity reader. I got a secondary layout, Liz Course. She's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I got an editor, got like all those things. And I had beta readers and stuff like that. There was a, we'll go through all the cautionary tales here, but that was for my most successful project though. Right. And my normal projects, I could not probably do that casually, right? Unless I had a ton of whatever capital or whatever. And all those hats really mattered. And if I hadn't had them all, any number of unforeseen moments would have destroyed me. And another thing that people do is make their big, beautiful budget. And they think, well, but my work, I don't have to pay for my work. But you're still going to have to pay yourself for that time. So what can you do? You can put yourself in a situation for months or years where you're doing full-time work and not getting a paycheck. So don't do that either. Please put yourself in your budget. Please. I know you're going to say, no, but I don't cost anything. I get all the profit. For me, when I do stuff, I usually don't do, because I'm so small and my print runs are so limited, I don't do standing payouts, right? I do as high rate as I could probably go. And then after that, my freelancers and I part ways, and any profit from the project is mine, right? And I make sure that they're all okay with that, and I explain it, or I say, here, you can have this back for portfolio credit or whatever it is, and there's negotiations. It's not always the same, but doing all that, even like you can't not take care of yourself during the project. Do not do that. Okay. Having done it a couple times, don't do it, please. It's the worst, because then you're doing all this work. You're in the super stress of it. You're also probably your own marketing team if you're at that volume, and you're living, breathing, and sleeping this thing. And if you're not compensated from your project, it's a bad time. It's a bad time. Don't do that.
A lot of what we're going over here is you need to plan, or else you're going to have a bad time.
Right. Absolutely.
And also, if you have not ever worked in any of these fields professionally before, or this literally is your first rodeo, you desperately need to hook up with somebody who absolutely has done this before and knows what to expect. It is crazy. And yes, it is. And that's the thing Voxel Forge Miniatures puts in. Isn't that just owning a business? That is owning a successful business. And you are even though this is Kickstarter, and you're putting your dream out there into the world, and you're going out on your own, and like maybe this is part-time, maybe this is monetizing a hobby and stuff, it is absolutely still a business. And if you don't treat it like a business, you're going to kill your own dream. Or you're going to hate yourself, and then you'll end up hating your dream. And that is the worst feeling.
Or both.
Don't
do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it. Oh my gosh. And I know that the message here is not don't do this.
No, absolutely.
The message here is go in with your eyes open.
Eyes open about what planning and strategy, and build your platform, build your media presence, or whatever you need to do. But do not go into this without marketing. Do not go into this without preparation. And it can be a whisper campaign. It can be social media. It can be an attempt at virality. But if you're going to do that, I recommend making sure your budget accounts for instability and counts for the unexpected. And be willing to fail and be okay with that. And I say this having at various points in my life, been okay with it and various points not. And I will tell you, when I was in the good headspace where I was like, knew the risks and knew what I was doing and knew, all the consequences, I performed better and had more successful projects. But the times that I was like, let's just do this thing, almost always, I have run successful and unsuccessful crowdfunding campaigns. And I will say, if I'm absolutely 100% honest, there was a warning sign anytime it wasn't successful. You know what I mean? So like, and that might be like, here's a good example. If you don't know this, Kickstarter does not have a submit today, be ready in 3 days. It is close to that when they're caught up. But it can be, oh, we're behind. Your campaign's going to take a while. So like I recommend, gosh, weeks, if not months before your launch date, submit your project and have it like good to go. Have that launch button ready, sitting there weeks before you need it. Like,
I mean, all the campaigns I've ever been involved with have been months and months of planning and organization and getting the platform on board months before you're going to launch it, and everything worked out well in advance. Because if you're waiting till the last minute, and here's a secret, no matter how prepared you are, the last minute you're still going to be busy.
Yeah, and there's still going to be unexpected stuff.
Yeah. But if you're waiting, like, don't wait till the last minute to do any of this. Like, this is not, I need to fund this project tomorrow kind of thing. That just, like, of course the stars might align and the luck gods of virality will strike your campaign and bless it with amazing success.
Right.
But that's the 1% of 1% of 1%. That's not your average campaign. Your average campaign that's successful is the result of months of work, of marketing, of data research, of getting firms involved, of multiple partners working together, entire teams coordinating, and so many graphics, so much graphic design work. Your graphic designer and your video producer are your best friends during one of these, because you've got to make this cool looking thing that looks cool. If you've made a really awesome thing and you're wanting to sell it to the world or convince the world they need to do it, your page needs to compete at the same professional level as $1 million companies.
Or be well done and scrappy enough to pull on the heartstrings of
that's
somebody.
So hard. That is a gamble.
It is. But occasionally you see it. Occasionally you see somebody who just clearly like is just waiting out the door, and there's that perfect moment of sincerity, and you buy it and it works, right? And you know, having tried that approach, do not count on it. Do not.
No. You're
even if your project is rad and it's a perfectly like together thing, and you've got like all your talent lined up, and you've got like, you know, something we haven't talked about. Have an offering. Have a free thing that someone can see right away. And, you know, probably even the right free thing. Now that's going to be hard to nail down, right? But yeah.
And that's the thing, is like, this is not, you don't go to Kickstarter because you had a cool idea for a thing. You go to Kickstarter because you had a cool idea for a thing, and you've developed it, and you've started working on it, and you've written all the text for the thing, or you've done the sculpting for most of the thing, or like you have to be like, Kickstarter is where you get across the final mile. If you need to have enough stuff there and done that people feel confident backing you, and also that you need to, that you know that if you get this funding, it means that you will succeed with this thing. Because where I've seen things fail is people come in where they like coming in with an RPG supplement where they've done none of the writing yet. It's like, I'm going to get this funded, and then I'm going to do all the writing, and then I'm going to get all the art, and then I'm going to, like, I've seen it succeed where the whole book is written. Like, you've written the entire book, and like maybe it needs to do some editing passes. Maybe you're going to bring in some guest authors to do some more cool stuff and add to it. But like 90% of the product already exists. And you need money to hire artists, because that's the biggest expense in a tabletop RPG or gaming related book product is the art. Or you need printing costs to get them made in China and shipped over on a pallet, or made in San Francisco and shipped over on a truck, or wherever you're getting this produced at. Or you're going to spend the big money and you're going to get it made premium in France with cool slip covers.
didn't like no this like so there's little things that are unexpected, right? Like I had my
Mhm,
shipping estimates, I had my production
mhm,
costs. I did do overseas, in Shanghai, and
mhm,
I had everything all good to go. What did I not know about? Duty
mhm.
fees,
Oh,
port
no!
fees.
Oh, no!
There was a strike during my delivery window.
You gotta plan for the strike.
Yeah, like, and fortunately, nobody like did a staring contest, right? It was like a
Yeah,
week. But,
yeah.
my stuff sat on a dock unpicked up for a
Mhm.
week because,
But I'm not joking about that. You got to prepare for the strike thing because between the production side, the Teamsters, the
Mhm,
shipping, the rail workers, all these different unions that are involved, odds are at any given time, one of them has had a reason to strike during your production run that year, and something is going to delay your book.
yeah,
Mhm.
and it will
And,
happen. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
the
Oof. I mean,
and
my
there's just go ahead.
so my theory on all of this is like you map out like responsibly and realistically how long it's going to take to do all the steps of production,
Mhm,
and like and you realize that it's going to take longer than you think it did, so you plan for
yep,
that, and you
mhm,
and you get all the things lined out on your thing, and I'm going to need this much time to do this, I'm going to need this much time with some wiggle room to do this, I'm going to need this much time to wiggle room this. And then when you take that awesome spreadsheet where you fill in all this padding and fail safes and design, you then stretch it 50% out more for the
mhm.
crap you didn't think about.
Yep, yep. Better to deliver early
Hmm.
than, deliver whatever late. I think I was still torn up.
Hmm.
I think it was 9 months late.
Hmm.
And I was just savaged by that because I really wanted to make sure I delivered and whatever. I had peers, and I'm not going to name names, but we might know them. Their movie stars were involved. Um, that did their campaign pretty much the exact same time I did, and it's still not fulfilled. And I fulfilled my campaign 5 years ago almost. So yeah. Anyway,
In the 3D
that's
printing space, we can give you some specific advice.
oh
Have
yeah,
your entire core pledge sculpted, rendered,
right,
really
right.
pretty graphics. If you've got it, if it's possible within reach, get that stuff printed, get some painters to paint up a few of them professionally, get like
Mhm.
some really cool video of them on the table and like all this stuff. Like make it look really nice. And like actually have this stuff like ready to where like when this pledge ends, I can give all this core set to the thing. And then if you have stretch goals and stuff like that's the stuff that's not done yet is the stretch
Right,
goal stuff.
right.
And have most of your stretch goal stuff that you're going to fund done ahead of time so that people see it and it's all
Yeah,
cool
or at least
looking when the
your
stretch goals.
concept art and stuff in for
Yeah.
sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
When it's but like you basically want to get to a point where like the first few stretch goals is like, oh, cool, it's all ready and like it's going to be delivered with the rest of it. And then when your campaign is wildly successful, you've got like some poor intern sketching like crazy. It's like, I don't know, it's going to be a dinosaur riding a tank. Boom.
Right, right. But I think this is a good thing to talk about with general, but specifically to the 3D printing space
Mm-hmm.
is the type of projects that are good to do. And the 3D printing stuff, I think Blast Simon Fledge just said trying to rate a game from a
Mm-hmm.
miniature has been leaning towards printing yourself. Sell the miniatures already. Why not? Exactly. You can take a product like a 3D printing project,
Mm-hmm.
and even if the campaign doesn't fail, if you've done all this work and you've got the
Mm-hmm.
files and it's all ready to go, you're still
Mm-hmm.
going to be able to sell that on my manufacturer. You're still going to be
Yeah.
able to,
Yeah.
to have your Patreon. You're going to have those things, and you're still going to recoup your cost.
Yeah.
So
I have
this
seen
isn't,
a lot of
yeah.
campaigns,
Hmm.
not just 3D printing, where the initial try didn't make it. And
Hmm.
sometimes they come at it again, second bat. Like we redid the campaign, redid the pricing, we changed
Hmm.
the theme up, we learned our lessons, and then it'll succeed.
Yeah.
Or, but more commonly, I'll see, like even with like books and stuff, is like we budgeted everything to more realistic. We got private funding, and we just put this thing out in the world without a campaign.
Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that's worth also mentioning. If you think you
Mm-hmm.
can convince 1,000 people to support your project, you might be able to convince one angel investor to support your project.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and maybe that's actually easier and safer, honestly. You're not putting yourself out there in the community. You're not putting yourself out there, like, to possible critique, because we know there are trolls. We know there are folks who are going to come at you just to come at you. And, I had people back my Kickstarters and just pay $1 so they could comment on the Kickstarter and say terrible things, right? There are people that just live to do this stuff, and then they cancel their pledge after they have a comment like staining your page, right? So these people exist, and they're going to come at you, and you need to be ready for that, A. But B, consider what your actual cost and your actual investment is, and you might be able to find somebody else to just take it over and help you out. I would be very careful with this if you 100% want to retain all control of your project, because you get an investor like that, they're probably going to expect a voice. So, mileage may vary. I'm not, your project planner, unless you want to pay me as a consultant, then we'll talk. But I will say that possibility for a smaller project, probably way more safe than relying on a Kickstarter.
Speaking of getting outside help, there are certain skill sets you need to have, and either you are that skill set professionally, or you need to go find somebody who is and hire them.
Yes.
And these are the skill sets you cannot leave on the table. And this is going to be universal to all kinds of projects, because I'm assuming if you're doing a 3D sculpting Kickstarter, you've got sculptors that have made the cool models.
Yeah.
But you know what you need to have? You need to have a graphic designer, like a real professional graphic designer, to make your page look good and to make your models look good and like to do. You need that. You need that. It's not optional. And if you are that, or you can teach yourself to be that, great. If you want to, but that's part of the investment. The time it takes to learn a skill is time you could have been doing other things that earn money and you could have just hired it. And it's often cheaper to do that hire. You need marketing. You absolutely need marketing of some sort. If you're going to be doing the Whisper campaign, social media, because you've been a presence in the community for a very long time, and you're going to be spending that goodwill that you just earned up being that presence. I've been there. It works.
Me too.
It's so much harder. It's so much harder than to just give a few $1,000s to an agency and let them do their thing, because a good marketing agency can take $1 from you and give you back $3.
Yeah. Question from Blast Camouflage. Taking a failed Kickstarter material and selling on MMF. What about going the other way, taking product from MMF and putting it towards a crowdfund campaign? Is that feasible?
Lots of people do it
all the time. Yeah.
Like Asgard Rising. I love Asgard Rising a lot, and a lot of times they will take a lot of their project that they've done in the past, repackage it, add some cool stuff to it, and then launch that up as a campaign. It's like a second chance at bat to get this at the price as when it was produced on Patreon or something. And that happens all the time. Like your back catalog of product can absolutely be repurposed. I do say you have to do something to freshen it up. You have to add something to it, usually, to kind of like revitalize it, or repackage it, or refreshen it. And heck, and Secrets of Tishel, the OPR campaign running right now, like the new adventure and the heroes is the crux of the campaign, but like supporting that campaign is all the past stuff we've made for the factions involved is available to prop that up.
Same thing. I stand a lot for Monolith Arts. They did Lost Souls. They do a lot of other stuff. They're currently doing another one that's like really terrible, horrible monsters. Of course, I love. But it has are you a Patreon supporter? Then back this, right?
Yes, always do that. Always have that tier if you're
because it's so confusing if you're gonna do repackaging. Am I buying minis I already have? Hey Valkyrie, good to see you.
Hey Valkyrie.
But do that and make it very clear, please, please, for the sanity of your FOMO buddies.
Sometimes they even name it the Patreon tier. It's like, you've been my supporter forever. Here's the $10 to get everything that's new.
I was a little surprised this Patreon tier is a little expensive. I still love you, Monolith Arts. I'm just a little surprised. That's all I'm going to say. But yes, especially if people have been your supporters for so long. You throw them a bone.
So I want to shout out to some really cool Kickstarter and crowdfunding campaigns, like not just Kickstarter, some Frontiers as well.
Mhm.
Those are
Mhm.
going on right now that I have
Mhm.
nothing to do with. Just to
Yay!
show some good examples of stuff
Mhm.
I really like that's going on. First, Daka Daka.
Daka Daka. I
Daka
like Daka Daka.
Daka has got the Stormbringers 2. They've done Stormbringers before, but I think
Mhm.
Stormbringers 2 really upped the game on this. And if you like your not Space Marines to have a
Mhm.
whole lot of personality,
Mhm.
Stormbringers 2 is it. Like you want Space Vikings that look freaking awesome, or you just want a ton of bits to customize your Games Workshop models to make them look a whole lot better and more Space Viking-y. This is absolutely the perfect
I
campaign for
want
that,
to
and I'm
say
just
I
so
backed this. Did
awesome.
I back the first one? Maybe I did.
You may have backed the first one. I don't know if you backed
Maybe.
this one too, but it's
No,
just
I
like,
did not back this
and
one yet. I didn't know it was even out yet.
mhm, yeah,
While
and
we're
they do
looking at
that
this,
thing where
yep.
like there's the pledge where you can.
Mhm.
I love this about like Ian Lovecraft does this a lot, and consider doing this too
Yes,
if you're doing a
please do
Kickstarter thing.
this.
Yeah, where like we're doing a thing, and also it's a chance to get the thing we did last year too. Like you
Yes.
missed out on the first thing. Because a lot of people, like me included, I'm thinking about jumping in on this because I just love how these look. But I missed the first one. I didn't see it. I didn't catch it when it was coming around. And I'm like, oh, I don't want the incomplete collection. Oh, look, I can get both of them for real cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
For
love this
me,
one.
for me too, and I'm just gonna implore creators to consider this. Once you've got your first campaign settled and everything, maybe you don't charge the full premium when you add it to the next one if it's in a big bundle. I am much more likely as a consumer to go, oh, it's your first one at like $30 instead of $40. I'm gonna really appreciate that. You've already probably
Mhm.
got your costs from your first campaign. Just consider it. I do know there are creators that don't do it. They don't budge. They like I love and respect artists. And so if you need to do this for your own self-worth or whatever, great. But like when you only get the good deal if you bought it on Patreon when they were nobody or whatever, and that or that you've been a long loyal fan, and then like you pay blood and tears for everything else they ever do. I say this looking at Heroes Infinite a little because I love them, but good golly, super expensive if you get it post release. Anyway, I love them, but still. David says, gonna spiff up some 40K Marines.
I mean, I'm going to spiff up some Battle Brothers.
Fair. That's fair. Some totally not Space Marines. It's kind of like playing Pal World, but 40K version. We're not talking about pokey
I mean,
Space
honestly,
Marines.
I have because of just causality.
Mhm.
I don't think you're allowed to exist in this space without collecting. Just like you become a miniature wargamer, and then for some reason around you, 100 Space Marines will appear, and that has happened to me because I got like the entire Indominus box
Mhm.
plus like these 2 boxes of the Recruit a Friend thing that GW
Mhm.
put out because a local store of mine was like, we're never going to carry GW stuff. They send us this here. You do warp pennies, you take them. And then it's like,
That's
oh,
cool.
thanks for a couple hundred Marines, friend.
Right.
Um, and like you're just gonna just existing in this hobby, Space Marines will just like spontaneously spawn around you. Um,
Mhm.
so I might want to like spiff up some of them and make them look cool. Um, yeah.
So Daka
Follow
Daka
up
was
college
first
too.
one. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. So next up is I'm calling this company out because not calling them out. I'm putting them up because I love the product and they've been doing this for like heck and ever. And this is super tiny, but it's
Mhm.
STL Loot Factory. They've been
Mhm.
doing these sets of texture rollers for years now, and now it's just
Yeah.
getting ridiculous because this is set 12 of their
Wow.
texture rollers.
Mhm.
And there's a bunch of texture rollers you can get for free, but they make really good ones, and they're not that cheap. They're not very expensive. It's like under $1 per texture roller STL.
Mhm.
At the end of it, because you can get all 12 of their sets for like 64 USD, which is just like a bagillion of these things.
Right. Yeah, that'd be
And
cool.
I love texture rollers because you can roll them across the foam or you can roll them across the clay. And it's just like a
Mhm.
really awesome way to get super good looking terrain with
Yeah,
like
yeah.
zero effort.
I like it. I like it.
And
I'm
these texture
tempted.
rollers, when you buy them in the wild, like stuff from like Green Stuff World, which is a company I
Mm,
have complicated feelings about,
mhm.
um, are very expensive. They're like $10-$20 a piece.
Yep, per
But you
roller.
got a
Yep.
3D printer. You should not do that. You should just get one, either like if you haven't done texture rollers before, get on Thingiverse, get on printables. There's lots of free ones. Get some, use them, learn to love them, and then you will know why you would want 100 more of them.
Right, right.
Mhm. Do you?
Back to Sam Fudge's question, just
Mhm,
because we almost skipped it, and I interrupted you. I apologize. However, we're looking at how many minis is a minimum for a campaign. Ask is a single person
mhm,
doing everything. Okay, single person doing everything. My heart
mm,
goes out to you. It's going to be rough, but I'd
mhm,
honestly say a squad, a good solid squad is enough if your ask is
mhm.
low. Um,
Yeah,
but
it depends on your ask.
right,
Absolutely. If you're only expecting like $20 pledges or $30 pledges, that's actually probably a bit much for just a squad.
yeah.
$30 too much for a squad. Then you can do like, and at that point, you really want to enter like boutique miniature territory.
Mhm.
You want each one of them to be so cool, so creative, and stuff.
But this isn't a bad idea. Just so you're aware, there are
Mhm,
people who cannot keep up with the Patreon monthly
mhm,
release schema, the my mini
mhm,
factory tribe schema. That's a viable thing to just maybe do quarterly crowdfunding with low asks and still kind of just get your stuff out there and build it up. And you can still put it on the storefronts later. But it's there's people who do that, and even if you just need to take a break from your Patreon routine and just do like a crowdfunding, whatever it is. Like I think Scott over at Comet Lord has an amazing campaign coming up, and he's been taking a break from Patreon and stuff like that.
mhm,
And I think it's clearly looking at the preview menus. Wow, it's been good for the recharging of batteries because those things look like fire, like really good stuff. And
yeah,
I'm super hyped for it. And I hopefully that's going to work out and be like super successful. But like, do what you need to do to make your business work. And we're not going to be able to tell you what that looks like per case, but there's nothing wrong with like a small release if with a smaller ask as long as you think you can still get the exposure you need. And that's the thing that kills me about these things, because even like running some of the lower, smaller goal stuff I've run, it's still hundreds to thousands of dollars to even get a little bit of ad revenue out. I mean, ad exposure and stuff out there. It's
yeah,
rough.
yeah. I mean, one of the ones I was going to shout out to is actually a smaller
Yeah, let's hear
campaign,
it. Let's hear it. Yeah.
which is I will say, people, be careful what you name these things.
Oh boy.
You'll understand in a second. But 3D printable D&D Heroes number 3,
Mm,
Mages, uh, from Titan Troll,
friend of
who
the
a
show.
creator that's often friend of the show, and does fantastic. Like, it's just exactly what it is. It's like all the different species, like not all of them, but a whole bunch of different species, male and female mage options
Mhm.
there with like really characterful, unique one-off sculpts. Like, these are not going to be like the same thing reposed 1,000 times with small variations.
Right.
These
Right.
are all bespoke, custom stuff. Like, that's one of the reasons I like Titan Trolls to work constantly. There's
Mhm.
20 models here. I think it might have grown due
Yeah.
to stretch goals and stuff, and like a $38 backing for that many models. So like that's $2 a model, which I think is about the upper limit on what you can charge, in
Mhm.
my opinion. But again, it's just my opinion. Um, but it's like really nice quality stuff. It's definitely in that boutique level of miniature stuff. Like, each one of these stands alone and is really cool. Um, Whereas
I mean,
opposed to like building a generic character and then recustomizing them 20 times,
right. Right.
is a viable option for when you want to like flood. Like, I want 30 barbarians of the tentacle monster, and you can totally get those done that way. And that's another viable, perfectly great strategy to get stuff done. But I do
Right.
love these like one-off sculpts that is just pure art put into one mini, and then the next mini is not based on that at all. Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
And
So
and
this is
just
another.
always so flavorful too. Like, gosh,
Mhm.
Titan Troll
Yeah.
does such a good job with like
Yeah.
emotions
It's
and
like
like
this super low fantasy look. Like if you like Baldur's Gate 3, Titan Troll's art is like right up your alley.
yeah.
Mhm.
Although I don't know that
They got
they'd
a
call that
satyr
game
mage. I didn't see some of the
low
stuff that's in the
fantasy.
stretch
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. They got Warforged mages, Genasi mages, all kinds of cool stuff. Oh, and also the smart thing, the ability to go back and get sets 1 and 2 in some of their
Very
other
smart.
campaigns. Mhm. Yeah. Again, and that's you don't have to go huge. But you can go huge. You can do the 30, like this is a unit of 30 tentacle barbarians, and then it's the tentacle mammoth lord, and then the tentacle winches, and like all like you can do
Tentacle
the full
winches.
army. If you want to do that like full army scale, or if for the D&D side, like the gigantic 100 minis of that for this very specific adventure style campaign, that also works. Like you can do the bucket of minis, and like would be the equivalent of like a creator's 5 or 6 months on Patreon, and then you can charge that $50 to $100 range for that pledge to get like the humongous collection, because that's really satisfying. Like Triloxy, like I don't have a bookmark here, but like Triloxy Factory is like doing a redo of their mummies,
Yeah,
their
and it's
mummy miniatures,
pretty good.
and it's like some really great minis, and like it's all the old ones and all the new ones, and like this gigantic collection. Like it's everything you need to put some good looking mummy miniatures on a table, like a whole army story.
Mummified crocodiles. I love them.
Yes,
They're really that skill's really good.
very cool stuff. And like that option is available to you, and it's something great about like buying the whole thing at once. Like this is my whole army project, this is my whole D&D campaign project all in one go, and it's all styled and it's all fits each other, and because it's 3D printed, it's like unlikely that you're going to see it at your local game store, like because there's so many different options out there. Like yours is going to stand out a little bit, and like you can just work on that whole project all year, and then just like boom, look at this, hundreds of models that I painted and got ready, and it's so satisfying. And those campaigns, I love them too. And we talked about minis. I love that even more for the terrain sets, because when I want, like I always visualize that gaming table like that I'm going to build with this. It's just like when I got all those houses and those trees for Rangers of Shadow Deep, and I got to put them on the table after working on it for a few weeks. It's just so satisfying, so humongously satisfying to have this gigantic table full of really awesome terrain, and it just looks just as perfect as it did in your head.
Exactly,
and like,
right.
And it's there. It's and you can do that with these campaigns, and it's a great way, because sometimes people don't want to commit to the monthly thing, because I love the monthly pledges. It's such a cheap way to get so many amazing models,
Right.
but you're waiting for months. Like I love my High Elf army, and I love Last Sword miniatures. Like they are still putting out models. I've been supporting them for 2 years, and they are still putting out models that I need for my army. And I've gone off to other sources to fill those holes in the meantime. But but like they just did Dark Elves a few months ago, and it was just a campaign. It was a Kickstarter campaign. The entire Dark Elf army all at once. And I half of me wish they would just have done that with the High Elves, because it's like, oh, I just get it all at once. I got it all.
Right.
Yeah. So it definitely was more expensive than if I would have pledged in month to month. Like the Kickstarter, or the Patreon, or the tribes, $10 a month is like absolutely the cheapest way you're going to get models for sure. And I do recommend to everybody, like at least that's involved in this hobby, and if you can afford it, I'm not never stress. Never put yourself in the financially bad place for any hobby, period.
It's true.
But if you can afford a couple of monthly subscriptions, I'm not saying go overboard. I'm not saying do like me and have 10 of them.
I mean, I'm actually closer to you than I've been in a long time. I think I'm only at like 24 right now. But
I have a hard limit at 10, and in order to to get a new one, I force myself to drop an old one.
Yeah. Well, I have unfortunately subscribed to the following, which is if I had a $10 one and I back two $3 ones, I have saved money. So my count has escalated. But
yeah, because it's the absolute cheapest way to get the models. Like you're never going to beat that, especially if you are like pledging to one of the fire hose groups, like
you guys or AVG or
AVG or
Epic. Oh my gosh.
Titan Forge is the one I was trying to say, and I got tongue-tied.
Titan Forge has tightened up a little bit, maybe in a good way. I feel like those sets are a little tighter and a little bit. I mean, there's still like the little adventure stuff on the side, but it doesn't feel
you're
like
still getting like 40 models a month.
Yeah, I guess so. It's still quite a bit, but
it's not Epic. Like I don't think anybody puts out as much as Epic puts out. It's like literally hundreds of models a month.
Yeah. Mind-boggling.
Fox of Force says dang 10. I don't know. Do you mean dang only 10 or dang 10's a lot? But yeah, so and the Kickstarters are a great way to get a lot of that same benefit. Like I got this gigantic cohesive project that's going to let me do this really cool thing, and it also is that instant gratification. And there's not a month that goes by that I don't buy one or two of these, which is actually worse than 10, because like
I would probably see, and it's interesting. Now I'm kind of curious because I probably only do it like once a quarter, maybe every other month, but maybe you're not as far more controlled than I am after all. Well, do you have any other last campaigns to shout out to? Because we're getting close to the time.
This one's upcoming. Cast and Play has a cool upcoming campaign. Cowboys. It's Cowboys.
Nice. Is it Cowboys
like super stylized?
So is it like Ebron Cowboys or is it like actual Cowboys?
Freaking Cowboys. Like the old West Aces and Eights Cowboys, but with their flair. Like look at that sheriff riding that horse, and that's just awesome. And then you have El Nino beside her, which is like this like big burly dude with a machete and a scarf. Like they just go so extra with their characters, and this is a genre that does not get minis often. And so having a gigantic campaign from a creator I love, like I don't get to play cowboy campaigns often.
No,
like there's some like Dracula's West that I play. That's a really cool skirmish war game that is like themed with the Old West, and occasionally get some Deadwood in. I've never successfully gotten a game of Aces and Eights in. But then I will know. Like this is going to be like the chance to get the minis, because like it, and again, it's in the 3D printing space where that's going to happen, because like who's going to take the risk to make like this giant 100 mini set with supporting terrain and accessories for a genre that is not fantasy or sci-fi?
Right. Well, the Western, good luck. I mean, I think they'll do okay because it's rare and they're cast and play. But it just kills me. Like every time we do this sort of thing, fantasy is always going to outperform sci-fi or other genres. I mean, like, you know me, right after fantasy, superheroes is my favorite thing, right? I'm not
there's not a ton of superhero stuff out there.
No,
unless you want specifically statues of DC or Marvel characters.
Right, but even that's tricky because a lot of those people get shut down. So like you have to be anyway.
I didn't say minis. I said statues.
Oh, statues.
You're going to need to play 1/6 scale. You're going to need to play your superhero game in your backyard.
Right. Have a city that's actually in your like cousin's sandbox. Anyway,
man, somebody should set up a HeroClix table like that where you're playing with Bowen statues on gigantic dials in the football stadium.
Right.
Hulk smash, and you just literally smash the cardboard building with the freaking like plaster Hulk.
Yikes. All right. Anything else?
No. You got any?
No, no. I mean, other than Monolith Arts having their campaign that's going on right now, which
Mm.
looks pretty
Oh, I
exciting.
have something to shout out to that's not a
Oh,
Kickstarter. That's just a
oh
shout
yeah,
out. And
yeah.
this one is
What is
one
it?
I thought you would love.
Oh,
Mammoth
oh.
Factory this month has the
Hmm.
Abominable Beasts that they've done.
Hmm.
Look at this wonderful mammoth.
Oh, that has lots of tentacles. I kind of like it.
It's inside out mammoth.
Yeah, that looks
I
pretty
just love
good.
it. It's just super creepy and it's tentacly, so I knew you'd love it.
It
And
also has some spider
this
legs
is
going on. That's yeah. It's got like a
this
whole
is
bunch
like
of stuff.
nightmare fuel. But yeah,
Yeah.
the disorganized Snuffleupagus has left us. This has taken its place.
Nice, nice. All right.
Okay, everyone. If you want to support the show, the best thing you can do is give us a review on Spotify or iTunes. If you're watching us on YouTube, the best thing you can do is like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to find more of our stuff, you can find it on preachergames.com, and that has links to all the socials. And until next time, I'm Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Perram.
I'm Kristen Sowers, also known as Seventh Mastery, and don't forget to use your screen protector.